exactly how much of this is true. Dr. Jackson was denying a lot of it, and obviously the Democrats were dredging up some of this stuff, but it's unfortunate that it ended the way that it did. Clearly we need somebody in that position to represent and work on behalf of our nation's finest, and those are our veterans, and so I hope that the next nominee is somebody that we can get confirmed quickly. But it is, when you see what nominees have to go through in this process, it's a wonder that anybody is willing to serve.
We got to go. Senator John Thune, thanks and good luck.
Thanks, Rick. You bet. All right. Nice to see you.
A brand new reaction from President Trump describing his upcoming historic meeting with Kim Jong-un.
It could be that I walk out quickly, with respect, but it could be. It could be that maybe the meeting doesn't even take place. Who knows? But I can tell you right now, they want to meet.
Up next, the president revealing some brand new details on Mike Pompeo's sit-down with the North Korean dictator. As we are a ways from a summit between North and South Korea. We are live from Seoul next.
And Jeb Bush weighing in on his father's condition yesterday, saying he's strong as an ox and he'll be out of the hospital soon.
Liberty Mutual stood with me when this guy got a flat tire in the middle of the night.
Hold on, Dad. Liberty did what?
Yeah, Liberty Mutual 24-hour roadside assistance helped him to fix his flat so he could get home safely.
My dad says our insurance doesn't have that.
Don't worry, I know what a lug wrench is, Dad.
Is this a lug wrench?
Maybe.
You can leave worry behind when Liberty stands with you. Liberty stands with you. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
I accept I don't bike the miles I used to. I even accept I have a higher risk of stroke due to AFib, a type of irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. But no matter where I ride, I go for my best. So if there's something better than warfarin, I'll go for that too. Eliquis. Eliquis reduced the risk of stroke better than warfarin, plus had less major bleeding than warfarin. Eliquis had both.
Don't stop taking Eliquis unless your doctor tells you to, as stopping increases your risk of having a stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve or abnormal bleeding. While taking Eliquis, you may bruise more easily, and it may take longer than usual for any bleeding to stop. Seek immediate medical care for sudden signs of bleeding, like unusual bruising. Eliquis may increase your bleeding risk if you take certain medicines. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures.
I'm still going for my best, and for Eliquis.
Ask your doctor about Eliquis.
So, I think I got to get my roof repaired. You know anybody?
Yeah, actually, I'm
Yeah, great. Can you do a free background check on them? Get me some additional quotes and book it for 2 weeks from now.
You can't expect your neighbors to do everything Home Advisor can. So to find and book a top-rated home pro for free, just ask Home Advisor.
If you've been turned down for a mortgage because of credit or tax return issues, Cash Call Mortgage now has credit and income-solving mortgages for people like you. Just call 855-890-CASH and we'll work with you to find a solution to your mortgage issues.
Traffic is a steep price to pay for following the crowd. Fortunately, we don't find much of it on the trails we blaze. And scenic routes don't see a lot of gridlock. But that's the thing about going your own way. It's all yours. Open your road with the 2018 Can-Am Spyder family. Get up to $3,000 in rebates on select 2017 models. Certain conditions apply.
80% of us suffer from low back pain. Finally, there's Low Back Tracks, an effective way to help relieve low back pain.
Hi, I'm Lori Grenier. I'm an inventor and entrepreneur. I found Low Back Tracks because I had a loved one in pain, and I was so happy it really helped them. That's why I had to bring it to all of you.
Get Low Back Tracks for only $39.99. Call right now and you can get a second set. Just pay a separate fee. Plus, shipping is absolutely free. Available online.
Type agree. Do you agree she's a Prius and a Shark Tank?
Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush praising the strength of his father, former President George H.W. Bush, who is currently recovering from an infection that put him in the hospital just a day after the funeral of his wife, Barbara Bush. Jeb Bush talking about his parents' enduring relationship during remarks at Brown University.
My dad, this love story my mom and dad have had over 73 years of marriage, 75 years together, is pretty moving for at least for our family. And he went into the hospital literally 6 hours after the interment of my mom, and but the guy's stronger than an ox. He's back out of ICU and hopefully will be leaving the hospital on Friday. I believe he's the greatest man alive, and I want him to stay alive for a little bit longer.
Strong as an ox. We look forward to seeing the 41st president out of the hospital.
South Korea now giving President Trump credit for opening the door to talks with North Korea as North and South prepare for tomorrow's landmark summit. President Trump earlier discussing CIA Director Mike Pompeo's recent meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un.
Mike Pompeo did go there. He wasn't supposed to meet with Kim Jong-un. Oh, it's more than a hello. They got along. They were with each other for, more than an hour. Right. They spoke, and he also spoke with his counterparts in North Korea. They had a great meeting. He then left.
Senior Foreign Affairs correspondent Greg Palcott is live in Seoul, South Korea. What can we expect at this summit, Greg?
Well, Rick, in a little less than 12 hours' time, this historic summit should kick off. It is happening in the DMZ. That is the area between North and South Korea, about 20 miles from where we are. High security, except for pool. Most of the media kept away. It'll be the first time since the Korean War that a North Korean leader, that is Kim Jong-un, will step his foot into South Korea. And that is where most of the meetings, most of the ceremonies are taking place in this thing. It seems that South Korean President Moon will have his hands full. One part of the agenda, we have been told, not completely worked out. That's the important bit, how to pry the nukes away from North Korea. And of course, that's the main thrust of the upcoming Kim-Trump summit as well, Rick.
We heard that Kim Jong-un might be willing to give up those nukes. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. And Greg, you spent some time with a key participant in the upcoming talks. Any insight there?
Yeah, a lot of insights, Rick. There are about a half a dozen officials backing up the top person on either side. On the southern side, we spoke with the foreign minister of South Korea, Kang Kyung-wha. She told us that this 1-2 summit punch might present opportunities. Take a look at what we heard.
It does indicate that we have a historic opportunity to resolve the North Korean nuclear and missile threat once and for all.
And while Minister Kang told us there were many reasons why the talks have gotten to this point, she does give a lot of credit to President Trump. Take a listen again.
I think he clearly saw this as an immediate, the most challenging global security agenda, not just for the United States, but the whole world.
She added, Rick, that President Trump's messaging actually changed the minds of the North Korean leadership. We will see. Back to you.
Key words, historic opportunity. Greg Palcott in Seoul, South Korea. Greg, thank you.
A cold case turns red hot after decades-long search for a serial killer and rapist comes to an end.
It is a day where they can, and especially the women who were raped and survived, you have to believe that they can sleep tonight, as I said. Because I gotta believe they haven't been able to sleep much at all.
The suspect hiding in plain sight as a trusted member of the community. Details on this stunning arrest just ahead.
Plus, Republicans in West Virginia trying to flip a key Senate seat from blue to red. We'll talk to one of the candidates vying for the GOP nomination, Don Blankenship, coming up next.
People would stare. Psoriasis does that.
We don't like if you like these.
I wanted to be clear. I wanted it to last.
So I kept on fighting.
I found something that worked and keeps on working. Now they see me. See me.
See if Cosentyx can make a difference for you. Cosentyx is proven to help people with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis find clear skin that can last. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting Cosentyx, you should be checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, or if you've received a vaccine or plan to. If you have inflammatory bowel disease, tell your doctor if symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions may occur.
Never give up. See me.
See me.
Clear skin can last.
Don't hold back. Ask your dermatologist if Cosentyx can help you find clear skin that lasts.
I think it's time to retire my dad's suit.
There he is. Here I am. At Men's Warehouse, our expert stylist will bring you up to date. Suit packages include
that like?
and tire pocket squares.
Subscribe. He's doing these things in the morning.
A great fitting suit.
Somehow, we always leave packing to the last minute. Guys, I have a couple of things to wash.
We got this. Even on quick cycle, Tide Pods cleans great. 6 times the cleaning power. Even in the quick cycle, it's gotta be Tide.
I was up and down with my weight my entire life. I was making poor decisions on my own.
Maybe I just can't lose weight.
When diets don't work, it's easy to quit. From a top diet 8 years straight comes Rapid Results by Jenny Craig, the all-new way to lose up to 16 pounds in just 4 weeks.
If you see immediate results, you stick with it.
Call and get Rapid Results now. You'll see change fast thanks to your dedicated weight loss expert.
The moment I asked for help, it was easier.
With Rapid Results, the secret is what you eat and when, with delicious chef-crafted food. Call now and get $100 in free food and free shipping.
The food is so good. You eat 6 times a day, and you still lose weight.
When you see the numbers go lower on the scale, you have more motivation to stick with it.
I just stuck with it, and I was able to reach the goal.
Start Rapid Results to lose 16 pounds for $16 plus the cost of food and get $100 in free food. Hurry, call now.
We're home. Let's go.
What kind of SUV is that? It's a brand new Buick Enclave. It really makes it easy to unload all those little maniacs. Sure does. Hey, honey, we should get one of those and have like a ton more kids.
Yeah, I love that. More kids.
Yeah.
Introducing the all-new Buick Enclave, tomorrow's SUV for today's family. Current lessees, switch to Buick and get this low-mileage lease on this 2018 Buick Enclave for around $369 per month.
President Trump honoring wounded veterans in a White House ceremony as part of the annual Wounded Warrior Project Soldier Ride, highlighting the importance of managing mental health through physical activity, connecting warriors with one another and with services to empower them to live their lives on their own terms.
And EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt facing some tough questions from the House Energy and Commerce Committee over alleged ethics violations happening right now. Let's listen in.
How can the public trust your discretion to make fair decisions when it comes to those biases?
You know, Congressman, this was an effort to ensure transparency. Because as we do rulemaking at the agency, what is
based on your record, should the public trust your decision-making here with the hypocrisies that would exist in the system you defined?
This is actually a support of transparency for all rulemaking at the agency. This is not an individual decision that is made by the administrator. This is programmatic offices making decisions and rules that are based upon transparency.
Sir, I think this boils down to an issue of trust. And you've developed a system where you're picking winners and losers. We pit the public against the industry, or you're picking favorites within the industry. And I think there is a hypocritical outcome to it all. And with that, Mr. Chair, I yield back.
I thank my colleague for staying within time, and Chair recognizes the Chairman of Full Committee, Congressman Walden, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I mentioned in my opening statement, there are many reviews currently going on at the EPA and Inspector General's Office, Government Accountability Office, and other congressional committees about some of these concerns you're hearing about today, Mr. Administrator, and that have been raised in the media. So my question is pretty easy. Will you commit the EPA will provide this committee with all the documents and information EPA produces for those inquiries?
Absolutely.
Thank you. As I told you last time you were here, this committee is charged by the House of Representatives with legislative and oversight responsibility for the bulk of the statutes that the EPA implements, and we decide where the agency's money can best be spent. Can you help me understand your guiding principles for determining legitimate uses of federal money by the EPA, including whether you're using any kind of previous spending guidance to make these decisions?
Congressman, I believe that as we are making decisions, we have policy and guidelines at the agency that drive those decisions. Some of them are attributable to programmatic offices, some of them are attributable to, the science part of our office. But yes, those guidelines govern our decisions each and every day.
And are they similar to the guidelines that governed your predecessor's decisions?
Yes.
In what ways?
Well, these are policies that predated our time there at the agency. And so they've governed our, from travel to internal decision-making on allocation of dollars to serve program offices. So these are predated policies that govern our actions every single day.
Let me ask you about the issue of science and transparency. I've had a lot of constituents over the years who've been very concerned about decisions in various agencies that get made by administrators or the bureaucracy. And in some cases, they can't get access to the underlying data that underpins the decisions. The proposal that you put forward this last week or so, how does that address that issue? Are we going to get science that everybody gets a chance to see, that can be replicated, that maybe is peer reviewed, so we all working off facts?
And actually, this has been an interest of Congress. As you know, there's been proposed legislation to address this very issue. And this was a regulatory action that was taken this week, a proposed rule that actually goes to the heart of transparency, as I was trying to share earlier. Because it requires that when we do rulemaking at the agency, we can't just simply publish the conclusions, the summaries of studies. Because what has happened historically is third parties have provided studies or summaries. We've taken those conclusions, used those as a basis of rulemaking, but not published the data, not published the methodology that actually supported the conclusion. And so those that are commenting on rules were ill-equipped to be able to understand whether the conclusions were rightly concluded or not. So this is an effort on our part to ensure that as we do science at the agency, whether it's internal at the EPA or whether we use third parties as far as their findings, data, methodology, and conclusions should all be a part of the package.
So is what you're trying to do is make more information available or less information available?
Absolutely more information available.
To the public. So you're going to require that every one of these decisions, or whatever they're based on, the data and the methodology, as well as the conclusions, are transparent and available to the public. Is that going to be on your website? How are we going to know this?
It's actually a proposed rule, Congressman. It's actually something that we are taking comment on. And I'm sure there'll be a wide array of comments on that very proposal. But the objective, once again, is to ensure transparency, reproducibility, with respect to the science that we rely upon in making our decisions and rulemaking.
As you know, Mr. Administrator, last year, and then I think we actually passed it into law this year, this committee unanimously, I believe, here and in the House, rewrote America's brownfields legislation. And we're working together to rewrite the Safe Drinking Water, Clean Drinking Water Act as well, and make additional grants available. What are you doing to help clean up these brownfield sites that litter our neighborhoods in our country?
You know, we just issued a series of grants across the country this week with respect to the Brownfields program. And you're right, it's been a tremendous success, reclaiming polluted areas across this country to allow communities to once again enjoy those areas. And so with the partnership of Congress, the increased omnibus, provided additional monies there for us to enhance that program. We are administering those grants and seeking to partner with communities all over the country to ensure that these areas are cleaned up and repurposed and able to be enjoyed again by those communities.
And I just have a few seconds left. I want to follow up on what the chairman of the subcommittee talked about regarding the RFS and new fuel standards. I want you to know that Mr. Flores and Mr. Shimkus and others on this committee put a lot
Pruitt testifying before the House Energy and Commerce Committee under fire for lavish spending and alleged ethics violations. We will continue to monitor this committee hearing. Sandra.
All right, we continue to follow one of the key Senate races in the midterms, the GOP fight to unseat Democratic Senator Joe Manchin in West Virginia as the Republican primary heats up. A Fox News poll shows our next guest at 16% support, Don Blankenship, running for the GOP nomination for Senate in West Virginia. Mr. Blankenship, thank you for your time this morning. A lot of people watching this race. The country is watching this race. What is the status of it at this moment?
Well, I think the poll's a little bit light on our side because the undecided is so high, and the incumbents, if you will, that have been career politicians still don't total 50%, so we think it looks very good.
Sounds like you're optimistic, and you mentioned that undecided number. Our latest polling shows 24% of West Virginia GOP primary voters are undecided in this race, and an even bigger number, 41%, who say that they're currently backing a candidate, say they could change their mind before they actually cast their vote. So I just wonder what makes you uniquely qualified for this position.
Well, I think the big issue in West Virginia is jobs, and I'm the guy that created a lot of jobs in West Virginia, and neither of my candidates or opponents did, I should say, and so I think I'm better positioned to help with jobs. I'm also better positioned to deal with the opiate epidemic and so forth, because we had to deal with drug issues at the company for many years.
Well, you have made national headlines for a couple different reasons in recent weeks and recent days. One of them is you decided in the middle of your campaign to take on the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell's family. Here that is.
I have an issue when the father-in-law is, is a wealthy China person, and there's a lot of connections to some of the branches, if you will, in China. Well, I don't have anything against his wife. I mean, I just say that it's her father that is well connected in China.
You're referencing Lane Chowry's wife, the transportation secretary, and I'm just wondering what your intention was with that target on McConnell and his family.
Well, it's not a target on his family at all. It's just an observation that Mitch's family is very well connected in China in the past, and that we're going to be making a lot of trade and tariff decisions with China and have a lot of other legal dealings with China. So we need to make sure, as we do in business or anywhere else, that there's not any conflict of interest. But I also need to correct that Mr. McConnell attacked me far before I said anything. He obviously doesn't want an anti-establishment candidate in Congress, and he's out there spending about $1.5 million trying to stop it. But actually, I think it'll help us.
Well, I want to make sure I get his response to your attack on him. Here it is.
My father-in-law is an American who lives in New York, works in New York, and I don't have win the general election.
Everybody's watching this. You're polling